Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. I think this is episode 9, right, of Real Estate Syndicator Live. I am, as you can see, I am not Mauricio Rauld. I'm filling in for Mauricio while he's in sunny Cabo. But I have 2 really awesome guests with us tonight, Ryan Woolley and Tyler Deveraux from Multifamily Mindset and Multifamily Capital Partners. We're just coming off of their inaugural Peak Partnership event in Las Vegas, which I was so lucky to attend, and I'm super excited about it. Really quickly though, I want to just do a little bit of housekeeping. You guys are going to want to mark your calendar for April 28th. That's a Thursday, not a Wednesday. On a Thursday, I am going to be interviewing Ashley Wilson from Bar Down Investments, Kathy Fettke, who just got tapped to do Bigger Pockets podcast. Super excited about that. And Maureen Miles. And you're not going to want to miss that panel. It's going to be a lot of fun. 4:30 Pacific on Thursday, April 28th. And then Wednesday, May 4th, Mauricio is going to be interviewing Ken McElroy. So you're definitely going to want to tune in for that one. So I want to turn this over to Tyler in just a minute to talk about all things mindset that he's passionate about. But Tyler, the first thing I want to know is, what was your favorite takeaway from this first Peak Partnership event? What was the very favorite thing?
Seeing everybody, I mean, it was incredible. It's funny. I was just talking to Jackson. I've talked about this really ever since I left, but seeing everybody and just seeing how culture trumps everything, man. And we have this culture within our company, Multifamily Mindset, positivity, love, service, value. We talk about it all the time. And to see everyone in the network just embody that. I mean, you have this whole room full of different people, man, from different backgrounds, different cultures, different races, different ages, different everything, but everyone just working together for this greater good of, man, betterment, just improvement and growth. And that's absolutely so powerful. And I loved it.
That's awesome. I like I said, I was lucky enough to be there. I was so excited to share the stage with you, and the amazing heavy hitters that you had speaking. It was so much fun. And, I understand, and unfortunately I had to fly out. So I missed your talk on momentum. I had, my team was taking notes for me, and what an amazing message. But I understand there's a little bit more to that story. So I just want to give you a chance here, because I see a lot of your familiar faces here, listening to hear more from you. So let's hear.
Oh, it's funny. There's 2. I know I see a bunch. I love seeing everybody, dude. I love seeing everybody. This is awesome to see everybody on here. I got back on stage, and there's 2 things that I forgot. Well, there's a ton of things I forgot to do. But 2 major things that I was like, man, I forgot to bring Devon back up on stage, and that literally made me sick. I just I'm sick to my stomach about it, because Devon killed it. I mean, Devon killed it. He was awesome. He was just amazing. He's unreal. And the other side of that is, we talk about this story, and we talk about how, my dream of, being in a position to be financially secure enough to move to an island and spend time with family and all those kind of things. I set that up in the beginning of like, I call it an open loop or a hook, where it's like, hey, this was my dream, but this was my reality, which I was nowhere close to that. And I think that, most of the people in there know that loop is being closed, that I obviously live here in Maui, and that, my life is dramatically different than, having to sell a house, but, to get out of debt. But that all started with mindset. It's interesting. Ryan and I were just on a call, and we were on a call, and I'll, spare everyone the details, but it was the detriment with this individual we were talking to had nothing to do with skill. It had nothing to do with opportunity. It had everything to do with mindset. Every aspect of it was mindset, period. And I also talked about on that call, or a call earlier, a message and a conversation that I was having on LinkedIn, and an individual that was struggling, man. It's like, hey man, this is what I have part of the mentorship group, and it expires in 10 months, and I'm terrified that I'm not going to get a deal done in 10 months. And he told me he was terrified in this, a matter of like literally 10 times in a matter of this conversation. Terrified about this, terrified about this, terrified about this, terrified about this. And I was like, man, listen, man, first off, you want real estate guidance, but you are the one that is impeding yourself. You're the problem, dude. It has nothing to do with your knowledge of real estate. That your failure images, your fears are replaying in your mind over and over and over and over again. Like, dude, take your success image, what you're trying to accomplish, that goal, and put that mother effer on repeat, you know, and
Yeah.
huge things will happen. And it's because there's this thing called the success cycle, and it is prevalent in our lives. Like, and I learned this from Tony Robbins, and he talks about this success cycle, and a bunch of people do, but it starts with potential, and then your understanding your potential, and then the actions that you take, the results that you get, and the belief that comes from that. And one of the questions that I actually asked at during one of my presentations during peak was, what's the potential of any human being, right? And if you remember, well, I'll even ask it again, dude. What's the potential of any human being?
Whatever they think it is.
Yeah, that's a great answer, right? Like, they're unlimited, but it's whatever. But really, it comes down to whatever they believe it is, right? Whatever they believe it is. And because we know people that have tons of potential, but their results in their life don't indicate that potential. And why is that? It's probably either because they're taking very many actions. They don't take a lot of action. Or you see people that definitely take action, but their results aren't very good. Why? It's because actions aren't enough, man. We actually have to believe. There actually has to be a belief aspect there. And so if you don't believe that the actions that you're taking will actually result in an outcome, then you'll have shitty actions, half-assed actions, right? Because you're not sure if they're going to pan out. I can relate it to this. My nephew was in town, okay? And so fun to have him in town. Dude, I just love this guy to death. He's just a good kid. And one of my favorite hikes out in Maui is called the Four Falls and the Hili. And it's this awesome hike. Like, it's this bamboo forest hike. You hike up this riverbed, but then you hike through this bamboo forest, and you go to obviously 4 waterfalls. And I'm telling him that I'm not going on this hike with him. I'm telling him about this hike. Okay, hey, this is what you do. You get to this waterfall, then you take a ladder up, and then you climb, and you hike all the way up this riverbed. But then when you get to the end, you're gonna think it's the end, but that's not the end. At that point, you actually have to jump in the river. You're gonna swim up to the river. Swim up the river a little bit. You'll see a little baby waterfall. That's not the 4th waterfall. You're gonna think it's the 4th waterfall. In fact, you can see that from the part that you jump in. And so you might get there and be like, hey, I'm not going to swim to that waterfall because it's just a little baby waterfall. I'm just going to stay here nice and dry and then get my ass back down the trail. But that's the point where you got to jump in. You got to swim up the river. You got to climb up that waterfall, because you climb up that waterfall and then there's this gigantic bitchin' waterfall. But he forgets this on the hike, right? He forgets this on the hike, and he's not sure this whole hike if he's on the right trail, right? So it could take, literally, it takes me to go and do this hike. I can get there all the way to the top waterfall, jump off the waterfall a couple times, swim around, go back down, and be 2 hours round trip. Well, it had taken him 2.5 hours just to get to the point where you jump in. And why? It's because there was this belief issue. This belief issue the whole time of, am I on the right trail? Is this the right direction that I'm going? Did I take a wrong turn? I don't know. He has a map, but is it really the map? Is it, did I miss something? Who knows, right? So this whole time he's always second guessing every freaking action. That's exhausting, man. That's exhausting. And he gets to this point where I already told him this is where you jump in, and he doesn't jump in. He doesn't make it to literally the pinnacle moment of the waterfall. And it's because his belief, once again, was little. And if your belief is little, your actions are going to follow suit. And so I was talking to him about this when he got home. I'm like, bro, I told you that's the point where you jump in, right? Well, once again, we can be told something, but it doesn't mean that we're going to remember it out the gates. All right. We have to continually get guidance. We have to continually enhance our belief. And so our internal dialogue is massive. It's massive. Continually reminding ourselves, no, this is the direction we're going. This is why we're doing it. This is how we're doing it. This is what we're doing. This is what we're going to accomplish. This is the goals we're accomplishing. These are the lives we're going to change, right? All those kind of things are just massively, massively important. And so if we don't have that belief, we take very little action and we'll get very little results. And then this success cycle will continue to think that our potential is less and less. Or we actually have that belief, we take massive actions, we get massive results, and what we view as our potential increases, right? So the success cycle is on repeat all the time, and it's what we're feeding it that's really going to get us to where we want to go. And this is where challenges are huge, because, and this is where people, I believe, make, you know, mountains out of a molehill. You know, they come up to a challenge. This is what I want you to listen to very, very quickly, because I just believe that this is so prevalent in everyone's life, but definitely people within, you know, the multifamily space, because our thinking industry is riddled with challenges all the time, man. All the time. That's what growth is riddled with, is challenges. But when we come against a challenge and we believe that that challenge is something that can derail us, well, then our belief, right, decreases. And if our belief decreases, well, we already talked about this, it affects our actions. We take very little actions, we get very little results. And because we get very little results, well, our belief decreases again. Our potential, what we view as our potential, decreases again. And so now all of a sudden, this little molehill is turned into a mountain. It's because we've allowed it to affect our belief. Everything starts with belief. But on the flip side of that, and that's what I want you to, you know, to take away from this for a second. What if we just believed for a second that that challenge, that was actually a blessing, that was a friend, right? What if we believed that that challenge had the opportunity, the potential to freaking give us massive results that we couldn't get had we not had the challenge? And I relate that to COVID. You know, COVID comes in 2020, you know, Rona just freaking running amok, right? And people viewed that as a challenge, and it was a challenge. But Ryan and I, we just viewed that as a challenge we viewed that as a challenge that had massive opportunity. And because of that, we took massive actions and we saw massive results, and it became, you know, it increased our potential once again and our view of what was possible. So as we come across challenges, if we truly hardwire ourselves to view that challenge as a blessing, then literally these challenges become things that help us progress and grow and increase our potential and increase our belief and increase, well, everything that we do as individuals. But everything is mindset, man. Everything is how we view it to be. And, you know, how we, and our belief aspect will impact our actions, our results, and once again, overall potential. So, you know, I look at that in relation to the story that you're talking about that I didn't tie in. And, you know, being in a position where I, you know, was not in a financially good spot, and not in a good spot mentally either, man. But having my back against the wall where I freaking had to do something, it made me have to take, out of desperation, almost have to take massive results. Ryan was the same direction, man. He had to, no other option. And those are the kind of things that allow me to live in a place now where, dude, I own 2 multi-million-dollar homes now here, and it's like, and I'm already telling Ryan, dude, that I'm ready for, you know, one not across the street from the beach, but freaking on the beach. And why do I want that? And why am I okay saying that? It's because my intention is very, very pure, dude. I want to have a place of refuge for people to come escape the realities of, you know, the mainland or whatever. I want that. I want to bring people there, and the bigger, you know, the better place that I can get, the more, you know, people that we can bring there to, you know, to provide that place of refuge too. Ed Milet talks about owning an island. Shit, let's make that happen. You know,
I love it.
That belief there.
I love it.
I don't know if that's what you were talking about, Bethany. And I know I just freaking riffed for a second.
No, I love it.
Drill in on any of those topics.
No, I love it. You know, and like there are a lot of classes and courses out there to learn how to do real estate. There are a lot of them, but you're right. It's going to be riddled with challenges. And if you don't have grit and resolve and the right mindset, it's not gonna work, because you don't think it's gonna work. You know, I don't think you guys invented or you know, invented some new way to do multifamily, right? The reason that you're so successful is because you've decided that you're successful, right?
Well, there's two reasons. One, because we have a bitchin' SEC attorney. Her name's Bethany. Number two, because we have an awesome insurance guy. His name's Nico.
I see Nico.
And then number three,
we
because we have a rock solid mindset, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, and if you show that you have that grit and resolve, I mean, I remember when COVID hit, we slowed down for a little bit, but you guys never slowed down. You just kind of kept plowing through and rolled with it. And I applaud you for that. And I applaud you for these huge things that you're doing now. I mean, you've got this massive education program. You've got this killer. I mean, to come out of the gate with that monster event, good Lord, you must be thinking of big. You must be in the right mindset, because that was a beast of an event to be your first one.
It was a beast, but man, tons of mistakes, tons of learning lessons, but it's, you know, it's, but that's how you grow, you know, that's how you grow. That's how you can't know what not to do unless you are willing to, a lot of the times you can't know what to do until you know what not to do, you know?
Yeah.
And doing an event like that shows us a lot of things that, yeah, fail up. I love that. That's awesome. Yes.
That is awesome.
Win at failing.
What's that?
Win at failing.
Win at failing. I love it. I know. So I tell my daughter, I'm like, if you're not failing, you're not trying. You gotta, yay failure, you know, and then you can learn.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. So how many people did you guys had like almost 1,000 people register for that event, right? I mean, I can never tell, you know, it was crazy how many people were there.
I can never tell either. I think what right around 700-800, right?
Yeah. I think it's 850 was the total, somewhere right around there. Yeah.
Incredible. I mean, that's impressive. What made you decide to sort of take the show on the road? I mean, I see you do events. I saw you were actually out in LA. I almost hounded you to come see you when you're out in LA, or you're practically in my backyard. But you've done the education program all over the place. But what made you decide to just take this huge leap into such a huge program as Peak Performance?
Because events like that have had a gigantic impact on our life. And it's also because of the small little events that we've done. You know, I've done these small events. Ryan's done these small events, and we know the people that have attended those events. I know them. I mean, dude, so many of them are on the call. It's like, it's freaking, I love looking and seeing everyone. I love it so much, man. And so I know who these people are. And I know that, like, if we can bring these smaller groups into a big group, it's game over. Like, it's game over meaning, you know, life changing for them and their businesses, and just momentum, you know? So I don't know, Ryan, do you have a different answer to that?
You know, why we started? No, man. I mean, I look at, you know, I was going through the different names. We see a ton of people on here, man, but you see like Cornelius Cannon, who's on here, who, you know, I mean, he does Shark Pool. He's helping people get sponsors into their deals, you know, and really, truly, you know, everyone, you know, starting to give back, right? And that's what's awesome is, you know, one of our mentors told us, you know, when you learn something, you know, teach it to someone else so they can teach someone else. And I think that, you know, truly, Tyler and I were just talking about this earlier, is, you know, he asked, you know, a group of us, you know, why, you know, a leadership team, a leadership meeting that we had, you know, why do you do it? You know, sure, the money's great, right? But it's not about the money, you know, it's sure it's about that, right? But it's the lives that affect everyone else, you know, and money is just a byproduct of helping others out, right? You know, the more you help them out, the more money you make. You know, I think that's, you know, one of the biggest reasons.
100%. I mean, one of my passions is conscious wealth building, right? And I 100% believe that the more you help people create exponential wealth, the wealthier you are in all aspects, not just financial, right? I mean, Tyler, I look at you sitting there in Hawaii, right? I think that you're wealthy in a lot of ways, right? Not just about money. You're sitting there living the dream.
Oh, I agree with that. I went surfing this morning, but you know what? I also believe that it is truly selling yourself on that stuff too. Like, one of the reasons that I love to go surfing instead of just going to the gym is because when I go to the gym, I don't always at the gym, well, hardly ever when I'm at the gym, am I like, man, this is such a blessing. This is such a blessing. But when I go surf, the whole time I'm out there surfing, dude, even if I just got freaking pummeled by a wave, which it happens more regularly than catching a wave, I literally just walk away from that just so grateful and convincing myself of how just grateful I am, and the reason that I'm so grateful, that's another thing that I don't think that I fully tied in, because that was a conversation that I got regularly is, just a conversation of gratitude, but, it's because my life hasn't always been the way that it is, and I don't forget that. I recognize that. I understand that. And my gratitude actually has very little to do with, it does have to do with money. I mean, money helps, but it honestly, it's the trajectory and it's the slope and it's the impact. I see the impact in my own life, my family's life, see my family at this event and see how every single one of them, they think differently, man. And to see everyone, on this call at that event and, the impact that has been made. And that brings massive gratitude, massive gratitude, because it wasn't very long ago that nobody cared anything what I was doing, because I wasn't doing anything, So now to, partner up with Ryan and, I'm just grateful, man. Very, very grateful. So.
Oh, that's awesome. It's the one thing I love about real estate, and I practiced law for a long time, but I'm fairly new to the real estate world. I worked with a bunch of Silicon Valley bros, and I did securities and M&A, and I love real estate so much. I'm a little bummed that it took me this long to find it, because real estate is the great equalizer. I think you can start from nothing and you can build amazing wealth through real estate just by following some simple recipes, right? And joining things like multifamily mindset and getting the education that you need. Everybody can do it. It's accessible. And I love that about it so much. Ed Milet talked about what a shit car he had, when he was broke. And I was like, oh, I'd like to go have a drink with Ed and just talk about let's compare humble beginnings. And I bet you a lot of people on this call right now are so grateful because they came from humble beginnings and were able to build up wealth just through the kind of program that you guys are doing. I mean, you're making wealth accessible to people who might not have realized they could.
Sure. There's a mix, right? Because it's funny, because those who are from humble beginnings, sometimes while you're in the humble beginnings, you're like, man, well, this humble beginning is why I can't get to here. But then I swear to God, I have these conversations all the time where it's like, well, I don't really have that story, Tyler, of like that trying time. My life has been fairly, decent. I don't really have that story, that why, that whatever. I'm like, okay, well, are you going to allow that to just? Are you going to allow that to allow you to settle for mediocrity? Or are you going to try to create a fucking story? Create it.
That privilege, launch from there. You're just launching from a little bit of a higher platform. That's all. You can launch from anywhere. And I do. It is 100%. It's got to be mindset, because what else, right? I mean, if you're stuck somewhere and you think that's where you belong, then you're going to set up camp and hang out there. If the one thing I always told myself is this isn't my home. This isn't my life. This isn't where I belong. So how do I get out of that? And it's not the most positive way to frame it, I suppose, but it did get me out of it.
Yeah.
What's interesting is this, Tyler and I were just talking about this as mindset, man. Bethany, you and I have talked for several years now, but you look at COVID and a lot of us thought when COVID happened, things would slow down. Right. And I remember talking to you going, I've never been busier. I've never been busier than COVID. Well, guess what? We were just talking before the call that, lending is getting ready to take a huge turn, right? And a lot of people that are not properly set, in their mindset might sit there and think, oh man, I'm going to take a step back and I'm just going to wait and see what everyone else does. Tyler and I were just talking about this a week or 2 weeks ago. In 2008, everyone did the same thing. They took a step back and they weren't proactive. They didn't look at solutions. Well, those that were proactive and had the right mindset made millions of dollars, millions and millions of dollars. And this is what happens every time during a correction is people sit on the sidelines, and other people that have the right mindset, they look at solutions and they make it happen and make millions off of it, And I think it says a lot about, what Tyler teaches in our platform, as to how to have the proper mindset. Because I'll be honest with you, sometimes I get caught in that too, when COVID hit and going, oh shit, maybe we should, take a step back. And Tyler's like, no, we're putting the fucking gas pedal down and we're going to make it happen, and that's it. Cause he's always on the right mindset.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's safe is actually dangerous, because safe, if you're playing it safe, you just kind of coast for a second. That's where you start losing your momentum, So safe is okay. Being smart is good, but man, being safe is actually dangerous. You lose the momentum. That's where you catch people. Dude, when people start playing it safe, that's where you catch them. It's hard to catch everyone when everything's going good, because everyone's running at full tilt. But it's when those people up at the top that feel like they have something to lose, that's where those people who don't have anything to lose catch them. And those people are like, whoa, shit, Yeah, it's pushing it down, It's very hard to stop somebody who's always moving and always, progressing and has the momentum. It's very hard to stop that. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we have been, we had a slight lull for a little bit after everything shut down. And then everybody, it was like they were trying to make up for lost time. And we've just gotten busier and busier and busier ever since then. And someone asked me recently, are you worried that you're going to slow down again as the market corrects? And, the answer is absolutely not. We have a bunch of badass entrepreneurs that are going to figure out something else to do and to make this work, because our clients are gritty. Our clients are entrepreneurs. They're not just real estate investors, right? They're entrepreneurs. And one thing during COVID that we saw was people were like, okay, people are going to sideline their money for a minute, then I'll form a fund and I'll have the money ready so that when I can scoop up properties, our fund business went up, I don't know, tenfold, I think, right? I kind of just made that number up. I don't know how much, a lot. Right. But we do.
As an SEC attorney, are you allowed to say that? Are you allowed to give
I didn't promise you.
We need an asterisk.
A range. I gave you a range, like 20 to 30% more, a range. But people, you guys, everybody on this call, you guys are gritty. I mean, we're not slowing down. We're not going to slow down. You're just going to figure out a different way. Right. And I was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and one of the speakers, and I wish I could remember who, and I'm terrible that I don't remember who it was, but he said the answer is not what can't I do, it's how can I, and I look at that as my job as your SEC lawyer, because people are usually like, lawyers tell us what we can and we can't do, and the answer is within securities guidelines, how can I, right? Call yourself a co-sponsor, for example.
No, that's it, man. It's not I can, it's how can I, right?
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Ryan, what was your favorite part of Peak? I didn't ask you that.
Favorite part of Peak, man. It's we were just talking about this earlier today. It's the re-energization. What's the word, Tyler? Re-energization. I don't know.
No, keep going. You got it.
Right. I'm like Joe Biden, man. How to get re-energized, right? Like, how to get re-energized, seeing everyone, man, where they look at, and they want to look at everyone else, man, and they do, they look at everyone else to see what they're doing, and they may be in a low in their life and going, Tyler and I have received so many text messages since the event going, man, we didn't know what we wanted to do, right? And then going to that event, seeing everyone else and the hope, right? And I think that's the biggest thing in those events is seeing the hope in people's eyes of going, man, I can do this. I've been to a lot of these events over the years, and seeing people going, man, they may not have got a deal that first year, right? But then the next year they have a deal and they're hugging you. And man, just seeing people, realize their potentials. I talked to several people at the event going, man, like you talk about humble beginnings. Golly, there's so many of them out there, and seeing, man, making the change in people's lives, but not just us. You see other people now within the network, that are helping change other people's lives. And so I think for me, that's the most, come on, the piano bar probably is the favorite part, but
Same.
Yeah.
But just seeing everyone grow, right? And I think that was my favorite part.
Can I mention one more thing with that?
Yeah.
You just sparked it, right? It was passing out the trophies, but there's a couple parts that obviously that is, having a second to congratulate those individuals and celebrate those individuals, you know. But I'll tell you, there's an aspect of it that I love. There's two things that I'm going to point out. One, though, that was unexpected, I guess, if you call it that, because I literally was kind of nervous that I was like, man, you know, these individuals who are, you know, in the crowd, if you will, who are not getting a trophy, are they going to just check out, right? Are they going to roll out and they're going to, you know, go out in the hallway or whatever because, you know, they're not getting a trophy, whatever? No, man, it was, I literally was, I can't even begin to tell you how impactful it was for me to see how everyone just stood on, dude, freaking on feet the whole damn time, cheering and celebrating like their peers and the success that they were having, you know. And nobody left, dude. They stayed and they celebrated. And that first off, that's a success principle, is to celebrate the success of others. And to see that, oh my gosh, dude, I loved it so much, man. And then to have people come up to me afterwards, so many, hey man, I'm going to be up on stage next year getting a trophy. I'm going to be up on stage next year getting a trophy. That's powerful to vocalize, you know, it's powerful. But I want to point one out in particular, and that was Jeannie Allen. Jeannie, for those of you who don't know Jeannie, if you remember, Jeannie's the one, she's in a wheelchair. And I want to point Jeannie out because Jeannie refuses to let that wheelchair define her. And if there's any, it's like her identity to make sure that people know that doesn't define her. So if there's ever any situation where that wheelchair may look like it is defining a situation, she will make sure that it doesn't. And so what she did is she had people lift her out. They had somebody lift the 350-pound wheelchair up on stage, and she didn't want me to give her the trophy at the end of the stage. She wanted to get to the middle of the stage just like everybody else. Like, but man, we all have these things in our lives that we view as handicaps that we allow ourselves to hold ourselves back, man, that define us, all of us. But if we can truly define those, here's what's interesting, right? If we can truly define what our greatest weaknesses are, what we view as our greatest weaknesses are, and truly recognize that they're actually a friend, meaning that if we can turn them into a friend, they turn into our greatest strengths. Like that you know, handicap for Jeannie is actually her greatest strength, because it literally wires her to do things that most people would not, because she is just bound or determined to prove that a wheelchair won't hold her back. That is inspiring as hell to me, dude. And we all have them. We all have them. We just hers is visible. We can see it visibly, but most of ours are mentally, right? But if we can truly identify those and use those as strengths, that's so powerful, man. That's I love that part.
That's right. Yeah, and she's badass. She's a badass. Yeah. I love Jeannie. Do you mind if we take a few questions? We got a few people. Most people are just cheering you on. A few people are going to come crash with you in Hawaii. So you're going to have some.
Hey, get out here. I love it.
Yeah. And somebody was asking, what is your favorite motivational book? Ryan and Tyler, both of you.
Ryan, you go first.
I mean, there's Never Split the Difference is one of my good ones. You know, how to win friends and influence people. I mean, a lot of them is, you know, what Tyler's awesome. He'll read them and then send them over my way. But those are some of my favorite ones.
Okay.
My favorite. I don't know. That's a tough one.
I always talk about. I know what it is. It's Outwitting the Devil.
Actually, you know what? Probably is. Actually, that's yes.
Outwitting the Devil.
You guys all?
I haven't heard that one.
It's by Napoleon Hill, and it is. And I love How to Own Your Own Mind too, for sure.
Yeah.
But Outwitting the Devil it's a unique book because he's essentially having a conversation with the devil, and it's, you know, it's a little bit different. But it was just it was eye-opening to me of the things that we allow, the things that really how the devil works. I think is what it was eye-opening for me. And once again, distraction and doubt, and that, you know, stops us from making decisions, which is one of our greatest blessings. And no, Outwitting the Devil is massive. I absolutely is one of the most impactful books I've ever read, for sure.
I love it. I have to say I have two right now. So the mastermind that I'm in, she does required reading, right? And so one of them was actually Rachel Rogers' We Should All Be Millionaires, which is amazing. It's geared more towards women, but a very awesome book anyway. And then the other one is called Happy Pocket Full of Money. And it combines some of my favorite things, which is mindset, science, and well, mostly just mindset and science, right? But it talks about quantum physics and mindset, and the mindset about abundance and wealth. And it's a really great book too. Happy Pocket Full of Money.
I love it. I haven't read that one.
And I listen to mine on Audible while I'm, walking the dog or on the elliptical or, whatever. I never drive anywhere, so it's never in the car, but I have that bad habit that if I lay down to read, I'm going to go to sleep. So I usually listen to mine on Audible. We've got a couple of book recommendations in here. Oh, thanks Cornelius for the link to Outwitting the Devil. That's awesome. If anybody wants to ask Ryan and Tyler some questions, use the, you can either put it in the chat or you can use the hand raise feature, and then it would bump you up to the top if you want to ask a couple of questions. I want to respect their time, so about another 20 minutes or so. And then after that, if you guys, anybody wants to stay on, I'll stay on and I will answer some of your legal questions. I know someone asked if I could recap scolding everybody for calling themselves money raisers. I'll recap that at the end if you all want to stay on and hear it again. But let's see if we have some questions. Mark, you want to unmute yourself? You can ask your question.
Hey everyone, Mark Hannick here. I feel like I'm the newbie here, but I want to ask, what is the first step to changing your mindset? I just started with the syndication business. I met Bethany very quickly at the Real Estate Radio guys last month, and Mauricio. So I'm curious to know what your first step to change mindset would be.
Ownership of everything, literally everything. Like when you start taking ownership for everything, you have no other opportunity, really no other opportunity but to change your mindset. Like, so for me, it's ownership, man. I played the victim card way longer than I've ever played the ownership card. But when I was like, dude, no matter what, I'm going to make this, like, I'm taking control of this. And if it's good, it's because of me. If it's bad, it's because of me. And just truly owning that, that was massive. Like, one of the conversations that I was telling earlier that Ryan and I were just on was, it was a mistake that someone made. That's it. But instead of just saying like, shit, I messed up. It's just crazy. Like the energy that was just used to try to like justify, man. And it's like, dude, Ryan and I don't even care about your mistake, bro, at all. We care about you. And the best way that you are going to grow from that is just to own it and be like, I messed up. Like, I want to teach my kids that, like, literally that, just doing that will propel you in a different direction. So ownership for me. What about you, Ryan?
I'd say ownership, willingness to grow. I grew up in a family of, a dad who's 74 years old, had heart attacks, hip replacements, and still blames his, everyone else. But yeah, his siblings have been successful. I grew up in that environment, right? And I think it's so easy to accept those, that upbringing, right? I think a willingness to change and the sacrifice to do whatever you need to do to reach that level, right? I think the other thing is this. I think so many people are conditioned of being around similar, like people. Tyler talks a lot about temperature. If you want to be a certain person, surround yourself, around that temperature. Bethany, you said you went to a mastermind. You're part of a mastermind. And so many people think, oh, I can do this by myself. I don't need other help. I can go read a book. I can go do this, man. But man, it's being around people who are better than you are to become the best version of yourself. And I see that too often as people are content with where they're at. And the other thing is this, man, no one owes you anything. And I think so many people out there these days think that other people owe them, right? Tyler and I get it a lot, right? You should teach us, you should show this. Why should I pay for your courses? Tyler, why should I go pay to go to mastermind? Shit, Tyler just made his own cousin pay 15 grand to go to his mastermind. Why do you do that? Because this guy's going to grow because of it, right? No one owes you anything. And the quicker you understand that, right, the faster you're going to grow.
Right. Well, and you got to be committed. And if it's handed to you for free, a lot of times people don't appreciate, I think, what's handed to them. Tim, you want to unmute and ask your question? Can anybody else who's
Awesome.
not talking make
Hey,
sure?
can I say one more thing with that?
Yeah.
Which is, and then the only, I was chatting with, I don't know if somebody is not on mute, but
And somebody make sure you're all muted if you're not talking, please, so we can hear. Thank you.
I was talking to Eric Thomas yesterday, which was just super cool. And he was talking about how he was the number one motivational speaker, but he he woke up and realized he wasn't a multimillionaire. And he's like, man, I should be a multimillionaire on the way to billionaire, but why am I not? And he's like, but I realized that it's because of things I wasn't doing. And so what I did is I surrounded myself with people that were operating at a level that I wasn't business-wise, that I wasn't. And then I literally saw, okay, this is what they're doing. Okay, that's what they're doing that I'm not doing. And I literally started to, he's telling me this on the phone. I literally started to checkpoint these things. Okay, they're doing this, I'm not doing that. They're doing this, I'm not doing that. And then I started to do those things that I wasn't doing. But beforehand, I thought I was doing them. I just thought I was doing them until I really took a look internally, and I realized well, no, I wasn't doing them. I thought I was, but I wasn't. But it takes that humility to be like, okay, well, if somebody has something, it's because they're doing something that I'm not doing, that humility aspect. I loved it. So.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. Tim, you can unmute now. Yeah.
What's up, Tim?
Hello. So my question is, now that you've seen peak 2022 happen, I'm sure that you've seen some things you want to change, some things that you really, really liked. But I'm curious, I'm sure that you've kind of had a dream and a vision already start to, create in your mind of how you'd like 2023 to be. And I want to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, yes. I mean, absolutely. It's funny because we were talking about, hotel space in Orlando, because I think we're going to do it in Orlando. And I don't know if there's going to be a hotel that can fit it. I don't really know. Who knows, with what we want to do. But I see this. I see the main stage. So first off, I want 2,000 people there, but I still want it to be at the level that it was, meaning the level of community, because it is really the culture that we have within our network that was the game changer of that whole conference. It wasn't anything else but that, and so I want to make sure that network and that community is so strong, and that culture is so strong. But I see us having a main stage, and then I see us also breaking it down into more smaller, really nitty gritty classes, right? So, or presentations, trainings, whatever you want to call it. So you have a main stage, but then you also have smaller trainings alongside that as well, that people can go and get niche specific guidance on these different things, whether those be niche specific panels, so multiple places instead of just one, if that makes sense. And then I'll never do virtual again, ever. I'm out. They got to fly. They got to get there. So that's another. And yeah, I mean, we had a whole peak partnership debrief, and more than anything, I just believe it's better systems to make it so that my team worked so hard, harder than they probably really should have had to work. And it's because we didn't weaponize them with the systems that we should have weaponized them with. And, the leadership, somebody literally taking ownership for a specific area. And if we do that, that enhances the experience for everyone, my team, but more importantly, everyone else there, So yeah, but yes, I have a vision for that. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, man.
Yeah, definitely. And sorry if I put you on the spot too much there.
Oh, dude, Tim, not at all, man. You freaking fire away, man. Anytime. No, it's been on my mind a ton. I'm trying to get it off my mind so I can, but no, it's been on my mind a ton. So yeah.
Nice.
Thank you, Tim. Zach, you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hey, good evening, everybody.
What's up, my dude?
How are you?
Good.
We just left soccer practice, so sorry if you already covered this or not, but did you find having an accountability partner useful? to kind of tell somebody this is what you're going to do and then follow up with that person and making things happen?
You know, believe it or not, I have never had an accountability partner in my life, ever. I just talk about the things that I want to do, and I expect everyone to hold me accountable to it if I don't do it. And I actually talked about this recently. I think it was on a podcast, but in my mind, sometimes I tell myself, like, people are out there and they're like, man, this guy's he's about to slip, dude. He's talking about family. He's talking about, wealth. He's talking about this and that mindset. He's about to slip. He's about to slip, but I can't wait to see him slip, dude. That's what I tell myself all the time. And so I talk about like what drives me all the time. And that is very strategic, very, very strategic. And I talk about it because I want everyone to hold me accountable to it. Whether they're actually holding me accountable or not, I feel like everyone is. And so that's why I talk about it all the time. And so I think accountability is huge, but I personally have never used a specific accountability partner besides my wife. She keeps my ass very accountable.
Thank you.
Love it.
No worries.
Thanks, Zach. Thank you. Delise and Bernie, I guess.
Bernie here.
There. Hey,
So,
Bernie.
First off, Tyler and Ryan, I want to thank the two of you and your whole entire team for a fantastic peak. I mean, it was awesome. My question is, my team is focused now on becoming experts at underwriting. What recommendations do you have for us to become experts? We met with Quinn last night, and we're going to be meeting with Courtney and Shayna. We were supposed to meet with them tonight, but we canceled it for you. What would you recommend?
Hey,
And there's Delise. Hey, baby.
what's up, Delise? Well, first, you got to read this book. It's called Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. You're going to love that shit. Okay. Do you guys remember telling me to read that book?
Yes.
Did you?
So-
Did you?
I haven't, but I'm going to because it's going to change my damn life. I just saw it in my Kindle today. I ordered it when we were at that event, and I realized I'm dead serious. I just popped it up today. So it's so damn funny that you're asking me a question, because I literally saw it in my thing and I was like, oh my hell, look at.
That was February 13th. We told you about that book. There you
Dude, I
go.
was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've read it. So I'm reading it. Okay, but as far as underwriting, that has to be Ryan, dude, because that's a Ryan question. How do you become a professional, Ryan?
Yeah, so many people want to underwrite the best deals, man. Underwrite the shittiest deals, right? The worst deals you can get, underwrite those and learn how to make those good deals, right? Here's the thing. It's the worst deals that you can underwrite are is the best way that you're going to learn. And then doing exactly what you just talked about, getting on with other people to discuss it. We all look at things differently. I just have the unique ability to have a twisted mind, right? And look at things really, really random. And learn how to forecast, right? Underwriting is not just your present, where you're at presently, it's where you're at in the future, and that's where a decent underwriter compared to an advanced underwriter is, right? You want a good underwriter, that's the person that is able to see the future, right? And forecast it out of exactly what can happen and then how to accelerate your business plans. But like I became a decent underwriter by underwriting tons and tons of deals that just did not work out to try to figure out why they didn't work out. The easy ones are easy to do, right? I mean, your brokers are giving you all the information. They're telling you what the market rent growth is. They're telling you everything you need to hear. It's getting a deal where there's no T12, getting a deal where there's no, all you have is a rent roll, right? It's shoebox receipts, that you're getting and then being forced to go in and do it. That's how you become a good underwriter.
Great answer, dude. That's awesome. Can I say one more thing with that? Because Ryan, tell me if this isn't true, dude. I would tell Ryan, I'm like, bro, you're freaking better at underwriting than I am. And in the beginning, you did not feel like that. Is that true, Ryan?
Yeah.
But I literally started telling everybody, I'm like, no, dude, Ryan's a great underwriter. No, you should take that to Ryan. You should talk to Ryan about that. He's a great underwriter. And then Ryan realized, he's like, oh shit, okay, I think that I'm pretty decent at this. But it's because he started underwriting more and more deals. And then all of a sudden he started telling himself he's a great underwriter. So I believe that if you want to be great at anything, you have to tell yourself you're great and tell everyone else you're great. And then you're going to become great, So.
Of course. Thank you.
Tyler.
Yeah.
I'm piggybacking off of his hand raise to tell you You are an amazing person.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that a ton. You piggyback off that hand raise all day to say stuff like that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that more than you know. I feel the same way about you.
And
Thank
keep up
you.
the great work.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're
So
welcome.
nice.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you both. The goddess Ashira, you want to unmute yourself?
Hey,
Hi.
what's up?
This, during the times, if you've ever gotten discouraged, how did you kind of like, pick yourself back up and get back on track? Because sometimes I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel and, I'll do things little by little every single day, but sometimes I feel like, what the hell am I doing? I'm just going around and around and around, and I don't know if I'm getting anywhere. And that kind of discouraged me sometimes.
Are you talking me, Ryan, or
Both of you. Both of you.
Yeah. Ryan, do you have an answer first?
Yeah, it's interesting, man. As I think a lot of people look at like a Tyler. I'm going to say myself, but really, people who have had success in their lives and think that they don't have problems, right? Or they don't go through similar things. I used to think the same thing. Our mentor, Dave Lindahl, man, I looked up to him. This guy's very, very wealthy. And I used to think this guy didn't have problems. He had problems. It's just different types of problems. My problems, Tyler was just talking. We were just talking about this earlier today. My problems 7 years ago are different than my problems today. But it's how I get through those problems, looking at solutions. I don't look at problems. I just look, what's the challenge? What's the solution to get through that? And I think that's I allow myself a couple of minutes to think, man, here's the problem. You call Tyler up on the phone and tell him you're going through struggles like that. He'll tell you right away, what's the solution? What's the solution? Right? Going through my divorce, it was, all right, you got a fraction of time to think about it, get past it. So we still go through struggles and discouragement and hamster wheels, if you want to call it that, right? But that hamster wheel doesn't keep going and going. It lasts for 30 seconds and then we figure out what the solution is. I don't know if that's a good answer, but that's the way it is today. But
it's good.
Great answer.
Sure, I just have to tell you that your MFM family over here on the chats is like, just call us, girl. We got you.
I see them.
That's so awesome, man. And listen, I paused at that question because, dude, yeah, you deserve that support. You're just a great person. You're just a great person, and that's just a fact. But everyone gets discouraged. Everyone has challenges. And I think that sometimes when we have challenges, we believe that because we're having a challenge, it's almost like we're the minority by having a challenge. When in reality, that means you're in the right spot. Challenges, mean you're growing. So I think that it's literally rewiring what a challenge means, right? So once again, that belief aspect, is that challenge, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I believe challenge is a good thing because it gives me an opportunity to grow and do hard things that other people aren't willing to do. But I would also ask you this, like, who are you doing it for? What's your why? What's your purpose? What are you doing it for? That would be my question.
I mean, most importantly, my children. My children.
And what happens if you don't?
We sink.
And so, like, during a challenge, my identity and identity is something that you're always like working on and always reinforcing. But my identity is that I'm the person that is meant for this challenge to help those that aren't strong enough to get through it, to help them get through it. And so, Ed talks about the being the one, and I relate to that so much, man, more than I could. It was like that was hitting home for me a ton, because literally, so during a challenge, now, we receive it, we come across a challenge, and it's definitely, my family. I got to do this for my family, but it's also, I got to do it for y'all. Like it's this, we talk about accountability. Say, no, I'm the one that we have to get through this, because if I don't get through this, well, then I may impact the belief of everyone in the network. Like literally their belief may be hindered, and I can't do that. We can't do that. And so it's purpose transcends self, right? And so I'm it's continually reminding yourself that you're that one. You're that one that you have to overcome the challenge. And when you do that, that freaking makes you hardwired for growth, because you're confident that you can be that person, you know? So what do? It's internal narrative for me. It's just continually internal narrative of, you know, why I'm the one that has to do it, and why I'm the one that can do it, and how that sets me apart, and, you know, whatever. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Tyler, I think you
You're
just
very
named,
welcome.
you just named your best-selling book, Hardwired for Growth, right?
Oof, I like it.
I like
Shit.
it. I'm gonna be your publicist.
Done. Been looking for titles.
I love it. I love it. I want to be respectful of yours and Ryan's time. We've got 5 more questions and about 3 more minutes. So Lacey, I'm going to have you go. I just want to be mindful of everyone's time.
Thank you. I'll make this quick. I would like to, for anyone that wants to answer, really, I was curious, how do you rebuild back when you don't feel like you've necessarily hit that bottom yet? You have for more context, you still have some old business dealings that you're dealing with, and you're kind of floating to the bottom. You know that crash is coming. How do you rebuild?
Can I ask some more questions along that line? When you say you're going those business dealings, can you give me any insight on that?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know I was going to get so emotional.
You're totally good. Jeez, you're totally good.
This was that burning question this weekend that, you know, what would I ask the experts? And it's a looming lawsuit that I have with a business partner, and I feel incompetent. I feel incompetent to be a partner to someone else when I'm going through these happenings.
Can I answer that question?
Yes, absolutely.
You know, I look at it as a bad business partnership that, you know, you said, you know, and how do you rebuild? Man, going through the divorce I went through, I thought I was going to lose my kids, right? You know, things were said, you know, Tyler, you know, talked about this from stage, but thought I was going to lose my kids because of some things were said, right? You know, and how do I rebuild? You know, how do I keep fighting, right? To go, man, why don't I just give up? You know, and there was times I wanted to give up. I give Tyler a call on the phone, man. I'm done, man. Like, I just need to walk away, right? And I'm sure that, you know, there's times right now when you go through lawsuits like that you just want to just give up, right? Have at it and stop fighting, right? I look at my life today. Right? Never thought that I'd be a multi-millionaire, right? I could have stopped fighting and taken it easy, you know, walked away from my kids. And you know, who knows where my life would be today. But because I had good friendships, right? Because you're part of a network and people that support you, right? And you surround yourselves around people like a Tyler to me, right? Who said, man, you're more than what you think you are, right? And you can do this. You know, I fought for my kids. I have more than half custody, right? I close on a multi-million-dollar house tomorrow, right? You know, I mean, you know, the thing is never in a million years did I think that my life would be like that, right? But because I fought and surrounded myself around people like that, it happened, you know? The other thing is this, how do you, you know, you ask, you know, how do you become a business partner to someone else? I'm sure one day I'll be remarried, right? I'm never going to look at someone else and think that I am not worthy enough for a future spouse, right? You're worthy enough for someone else. It's the work that you put in today, right? And who you are today, right? That person is going to see. Tyler didn't look at me and say, hey, listen, you filed bankruptcy. I don't want to be a business partner to you. He said, man, this is the qualities that you have, and this is who I want to surround myself with. And we have 250 million in assets now. So.
Awesome answer. And Lacey, I think that those is an awesome answer. I don't think anybody's more equipped to answer that than Ryan, dude. And I actually believe that it's all perspective, right? Those challenges that you're going through, I think that's what actually makes you a great partner, because you have these experiences to know both sides. I look at perspective. I actually think I want to surround myself with people that have went through those challenges, because they open my eyes to really what it takes. Like, I look at the legal side with Ryan. Ryan teaches me things on the legal side all the time, because he's went through things that I haven't went through there. And so it actually it's funny, dude, because that Ryan used to think held him back actually, in my mind, makes him so valuable because of the knowledge that he gained there, the struggle that he gained there. And it's interesting because in reading our book of the month is 12 Rules of Life by Jordan B. Peterson. And the quote, the part that I highlighted today was, but winning at everything might only mean that you're not doing anything new or difficult. You might be winning, but you're not growing, and growing might be the most important form of winning. So should victory in the present always take precedence over trajectory across time? And I loved that because it's one of the things that Ed talked about is he talked about temporary situations, making permanent decisions based on temporary situations. And your situation right now is temporary, even though it might seem permanent and daunting, it's temporary. So if you can look to the future, when we magnify the future, stress decreases. But when we magnify the now, that's when stress and anxiety increase. So it's all temporary, man, and it's going to be, and I want you to sell yourself on this. It's absolutely going to be the best thing to happen to you because of the experiences you're going through that's going to turn you into what you're wanting to become. But you have to sell yourself on that every day. So I know this, Lacey, anybody that's ever met you before, anybody, and we've met very briefly, and I can say this with very much confidence, nobody's worried about you being a good partner. That's fact. That's fact. So.
Thank you so much.
Lacey,
You're
I
welcome
just
so
want
much.
to really quickly, Lacey, just want to add, have you ever heard a single motivational speaker or a single expert get up on stage and talk about how it has been smooth sailing the whole time, but I'm just awesome? There's always some shit storm that happened that launched them into some amazing next story, right? Always let this be your shit storm, right? And then you can come back and talk about how you came back from it, right? Because it's not interesting. Always winning it's not interesting, and you don't learn, and there's no growth. Do y'all mind to ask if we have maybe one or two more questions, Ryan and Tyler? Do you have just
absolutely
more minutes?
No, absolutely. Yep.
Francis, you've been waiting too, Francis.
Hi, aloha. Yeah, so
what's up, Francis? Aloha.
how are you? I'm also in Hawaii, actually, on Oahu.
Oh, okay, sweet. I didn't realize that. It's awesome.
Yeah, so we're basically neighbors. And my question has
We're neighbors.
yeah, my question has to do actually with local community, right? So I'm curious how you like-minded people in your local community. I'm part of a lot of online groups like this, and I jump in and I love it, but I really want to find local business-minded, growth-oriented community, specifically for me here on Oahu, but of course, I'm sure other people would like to know that as well for where they are.
How do we find like-minded people? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in your local community. So we're not just, I love Zooms, right? Like, of course, it's great to connect like this, and we did it so much over this past year, but to me, there's nothing like connecting in person. And that's why, unfortunately, I couldn't make your event, but I'm sure that's why it was, in part, why it was so amazing, right? Because you're able to be there in person and connect with people. And so, yeah, that's my question.
No, it is, man. We live in a unique area. People think that island life is just, and it is amazing. Don't get me wrong. It is amazing. We're wealthy in a lot of ways, like Bethany said, but it is more challenging to find like-minded people with where we're at. But I believe you find like-minded people by, my answer is going to be simple, I think, but it's first defining what that even means, like who I want to surround myself with. And then it is putting myself in situations to truly find that and injecting myself in situations. So what I have to do is literally have conversations with anybody that I can. So I'll have conversations at the gym. I'll have conversations at yoga. I'll have conversations to just like literally meet people and what their story is. And I also believe it's asking good questions. But there's tons of meetups. I think somebody just put that, actually, Thurban meetup are very good. And you can go to, different, RIAs that you can go to. There's tons of meetup is honestly one of the best ways to find it. But I think that my answer would be, I think you need to know what you're looking for, so that you can identify it. Because it only takes a few like-minded individuals to surround yourself with to go to lunch that can absolutely open your mind to so much. So it's probably my worst answer yet, but it's a tough one where we are, dude. I know you know that. So
Tasha gave some advice on stage, and she said, if you want to learn about it, go on a dating app and say you're interested in real estate, and people will hunt you down.
brilliant. Hey, but I know some, Francis, I don't know if you want to connect later, but I know some people in Oahu that are definitely high level people that I could connect you with for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll reach out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's do one more, and then maybe if everybody can email questions after that, and I'll stay on and answer questions as well. Carrie, you guys were in line first.
Hi, Tyler. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Bethany. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
We just have
Yeah, so our question is that, Tyler, you guys will still gonna give out the trophy next year, right? Because we will go on stage and get that trophy from you for sure.
Hey, absolutely, we're passing out trophies. You know, we're gonna have a shitload of them, and definitely, Carrie, yours is gonna be there. Carrie, I believe that your panel, what you said on your panel, was one of the most impactful things the weekend, by the way. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was awesome.
Hey, it's my
awesome.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Can you say,
yes, we'll have trophies.
Get to hear it, Carrie? Can you just give us a really brief?
Yes. So our panel is actually to talk about our epic failure in, you know, our personal life and business life too. So my personal life, one of the things is that before I used to let people, you know, put me down and like body shaming me. Because, you know, like sometimes it sounds like simple as, oh, it's just you're looking, like why you have to care about. But I did let people, you know, put me down. And I think that I was so small and cannot be successful just because of my outlook. But, you know, like, believe it or not, like I was so thankful for Ryan and Tyler, because like after I joined multifamily mindset, I actually like surround myself with so much positive people and partners that, you know, like that make me feel loved. And I feel like, oh my God, like I don't have to really like, you know, think about those negative thoughts that other people, that haters just give it to me. So, you know, like, so I just believe that myself right now that, you know, I can control my life, I can control my business, and nobody can, you know, like take that chance from me.
Love it. I love it.
Thank you.
She's perfect. By the way, she's perfect.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, we actually only have one more hand up, Tyler. Ryan, I'm sorry. Would you one more question from Zach?
Dude, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Zach, go ahead. You can go.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, Zach. Sorry, I didn't realize that's who had the hand. Yeah,
Just cut it out. Thank you, Bethany, for hosting this and filling in for Mauricio, and Tyler and Ryan for obviously hosting the event and just putting the extra time for this last question. Simple question is, how do you maintain a morning routine when you're in like Hawaii and all these different like time zones? How do you keep that structured in your life? If you can walk me through that process.
Ryan, how do you do it, Ryan?
You live in the East Coast, so when you go to the other places, you're waking up early anyway, right? No, it's easy, but I don't think it changes. You know, I mean, I go to Hawaii, 3 times a year at least, and you know, I mean, I'm up at Tyler, 3:30, 4 o'clock when I'm there. Now, obviously, that is, you know, the change in time. You know, but I don't think it changes. You know, you set your clock and do it. I'll never forget. Tyler said this one time. You know, someone asked about or talked about accountability partners. But the first time he woke up at 4:30, he forced his wife forced him to get up, you know, and because he didn't want to get up. And he tells the story quite a bit if you haven't heard it, or you probably already heard it. But, you know, and then, you know, a week went by and he kept waking up at 4:30. I think when you're used to waking up at a specific time, you just do it, right? And when the desired state is greater than, you know, sleeping in till 7:30, 8 o'clock, right? You're going to wake up at 4:35 every morning. You know, I mean, here's the thing. Tyler is teaching a lot of people, you know, and there's things that we have to accomplish, and there's just not time to sleep, man. I mean, there's so many more things that we can get done early in the morning. And I remember Ed Milet said that, well, Grant Cardone said it. I want to be the first to go to bed and the first to wake up. Right. And I think that successful people look at that. They said the most successful people get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, you know, and I think you just get, you commit yourself, and that's really what it is. Tyler will tell you that it's committing yourself to do it, regardless of what you do in life.
I like that, dude. And it is, I like that, dude. It is. I think it comes down to identity again, dude. It's like this, and it's this internal narrative, I was actually struggling with my morning routine I don't know, it was probably about a month ago or so, but it's because every time I would wake up, now it starts getting light earlier, and it's always easy for me when it's lighter earlier. But what my internal narrative was like, man, I'm just tired, and I think I should do this. Maybe I need some of this, and it was all just not definite, where then I switch it, right? Almost like a switch, right? And it's my internal narrative is like, today's gonna be good, dude. Today's gonna be a freaking great day, man. Like, dude, I'm awake. Holy shit, I'm awake. And none of these other motherfuckers in the neighborhood are awake. I'm the only one awake right now. God damn it, dude. It feels good. You know what, dude? Today's gonna be a good day, man. I'm gonna do this. You know what? And it's just like literally in your head that's how you continue to want to do it again, is your internal narrative, or it's how you suffer through all of it all the time, is telling yourself how shitty it is all the time, So it's just flipping it, man. Our mind doesn't know the difference. Our mind doesn't know the difference of, it can't tell the difference between real or imagined. And so I sell myself on it, man. But yeah, that's what I do. But I also, man, it's because there's a lot of stuff that I need to get done and I want to get done. And I know the results of it, but I'll say one more thing with it. I have to switch it up all the time. I'm a very routine person. Like, I swear my life, I could eat the same thing every day. I would not care. I don't care. I'm very routine that way. But I also get stuck in those routines for like in a bad way too. And so I have to force myself to switch it up. So sometimes, right, I'll wake up and I'll go to the gym. Well, this whole week I haven't went to the gym once. I've been surfing every single day, and I don't care if there's a swell or not. I'm going to go because it's switching it up. So I'm always trying new things that keep it, to figure out what works at that point in my life. So. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
But I will say this though, with what Ryan said, it doesn't matter what time zone I'm on. My morning routine stays the exact same. It does not matter. It's the exact same, and I'm doing it every time.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Ryan, Tyler. Thank you so much for taking your time to come join us and give these just amazing nuggets of wisdom. I so appreciate you. I appreciate you as clients, but I appreciate you as humans and as friends who give us this great content. I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us on and for having the opportunity. I love it, man. It's so good to see all y'all. Love y'all. Grateful for y'all. I love it, man. Anytime, Bethany, especially for you. Not even a question. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I see. I'm so, there are people we went over, and there are still 84 people on here just hanging on your every word. I love it so much. I will hang out if anybody has legal questions that you want to ask me. I'm happy to stick around and answer your questions. If there are any follow-ups, and if you want to jump off, that's okay. But if you want to stay on and ask questions, I'm happy to do that. And then it'll be Mauricio back next week. And then you can join me on April 28th with the lovely panel that we're going to have. So I thank you. Thank you guys. You're welcome to hang out, but I just wanted to respect your time.
I do got to take off. Hey, thank you all so much. So good to see everybody. Thank you for the questions.
Take care, guys. Yep, thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Right. Thanks, Bethany.
Thanks, Ryan and Tyler.
I love it. How about that? Those guys are just incredible. So if you want, okay, so I already see Brad's got his hand up. So Brad, go ahead and unmute. Let's just get into it, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Bethany. First time caller. I missed a little bit of your presentation during peak, specifically related to what we can say and what we cannot say to potential investors. Can you just briefly recap that? I would love if you do that for us. Thanks.
Sure. So what you can say or can't say to investors in what circumstances? You mean online or what? I guess what's the context?
capacity. Yeah, I guess probably, yeah, also how to manage the social media online in terms of how to get investors to notice you, so that you can reach out and kind of, I don't know, add them to your list of potential investors. What can you say to people in public when you're out talking to them? And then I suppose also people that you do know already, friends and family, what are the restrictions there? And, I guess you'd have to ask them to 506 A or 506B or whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, so if you're doing a 506B offering, which means you're going to allow up to 35 non-accredited investors, that's where you're restricted from general solicitation and advertising, right? And the SEC regulates not only the sale, but also the offer of securities, which is why we say, the best bet if you have a 506B offering is just to stay off social media. Mauricio always jokes, stay off social media unless you're talking about your cat, your food, or your kids. And so the advice that I always give people though is before you have a 506B offering, get out there and get loud on social media now. Build your brand up. Talk about your team. Talk about whatever value add content you have, like why we love Houston, why we love multifamily, why we love value add. You guys make sure to mute if you're not talking. Just want to make sure that everybody can hear. So if you can mute, please. Appreciate it. Masood, can you guys mute?
Yeah. Yes. Hi. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to mute you because I was answering a question. That's all. There we go. Okay. So before you have a deal, you get out there, get loud, be consistent, right? So go put out there a white paper. You can do a lead magnet. You can start to draw people in and develop those relationships, because there is a thing called conditioning the market, right? And conditioning the market, it can happen when you are quiet on social media, and then you suddenly have a 506B offering, and then you start to get kind of noisy on social media, even if you're not asking for money, and even if you're not specifically talking about the deal. It looks like you're trying to drive people your way because you've got an active deal. So I would recommend building that brand and getting that content out there and consistent now, so that you can consistently keep doing it even when you have a deal. When you do have a deal, I would still stay away from talking about the property. Don't do the diligence walkthrough. Don't, even if you're not asking for money, you want to stay away from talking about the property while that deal is active and live. If you're talking to people in person, if you know them and have a substantial pre-existing relationship, you can talk about the property and the deal. I would be very careful about talking very specifics. One of the things that we do in our process is we'll look at your pitch deck, your business plan, and we'll give you disclaimers, and we'll have you soften some language, and we'll go through that and make sure it's compliant. Everything that you say to potential investors is part of your offering. So just because you're saying it at a coffee shop doesn't mean that it's not part of your offering, right? So you want to make sure that you're not guaranteeing returns, for example. Right. You want to just keep that in mind, and always be mindful of the fact that you're always pitching effectively if you're talking about the deal. So just know that.
Okay.
So that's the main thing. Did that answer your question?
Yes. No, that was very good. I wish I hadn't missed that part of your presentation, but thank you for recapping that for me.
Of course, my pleasure. Okay, Masood, you can unmute now. Sorry, I had to mute you. Oh wait, that was Brad.
Okay, yes. Sorry about that. I didn't know I was unmute.
Okay.
But in any case, sorry, that's my son in the background. What's the date for Q&A with Maureen, Miles, and Ken McElroy again?
The Ken McElroy is May 4th, Wednesday, May 4th at 4:30 Pacific. That's going to be Mauricio interviewing Ken. You're not going to want to miss that. And then April 28th, which is a Thursday at 4:30 Pacific, I'll be talking with Ashley Wilson, Kathy Fettke, and Maureen Miles, and they're just going to talk about their various areas of expertise. That's going to be a fun one that you'll definitely want to get to, and we'll still be recording it. There'll be a separate link that you're going to get for the April 28th one. The Wednesdays, Mauricio, these are the same link every week. There'll be a new sign up, and it'll still be free, but there'll be a new sign up that I'll send around to everybody.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. Mark, how you doing?
Excellent. How are you?
Doing great, thank you.
My question is, because I'm kind of new to this and I'm still trying to learn all this. What is the difference between me going out and buying my own multifamily versus me going out with a partner or two and buying a multifamily versus me doing a syndication with multiple people on the 506B on the side? We're not going to go with accredited investors, just people that I have relationships like maybe my family or friends. What is the difference between those three? I mean, the first one I got is just me. I got that, but I'm trying to see the difference between a partnership, a JV, and a sponsorship, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It's a great question. So yeah, if you go do it yourself, it's the simplest way to do it. Of course, it's a very expensive way to do it, but it's the simplest way. You go buy a property and you got to follow whatever rules are for real estate to buy property. The thing that is important to note, a JV and a partnership is going to be effectively the same for our purposes here, right? So a JV partnership. The important thing to note is that just because you call it a JV or just because you don't feel like doing disclosures does not necessarily make it not a JV. You can't just dress it up and throw in an SPV and say, I've got a JV. It's either a security or it's a joint venture. They're mutually exclusive. And so I think that's what your question is getting at. In order for it to be a true joint venture, everybody does truly have to be partners. Okay. A security is when you're using passive investor income and they're relying on your efforts to provide their return. That's a security. So that cannot then be a joint venture because again.
So before you continue, just so I understand this, if I do this with you, let's say me and you get together and we buy something. In a joint venture, me and you are both active participants in the investment. Would that be a correct statement?
That is correct.
Okay. And so I think you just answered my question. So then the syndication is, if I am the managing member, they're their members, I guess, they're really the passive people where I'm the one who's actually taking control, or if there's multiple managing members. Does that make sense? Would that make sense?
That is correct. That is correct. So yeah, if anybody is passive and they just give you the money and they're waiting, and even if it's one person, even if it's $50,000, it still could be a security. It still is a security. And so you just want to make sure that you're providing the proper disclosures. And so there are a lot of things that we can talk about to make it make sense to make those disclosures. If you want to do a smaller deal and you still use investor money, OPM, as we call it. But you're exactly right. You have to all be active for it to actually be a true joint venture.
Okay. I'm going to get off and then I'll come back for another question because there are other people here. So.
Okay. Thanks. Got it. Thanks. All right, Carrie, how you doing?
Hello, hello, Bethany. Thank you so much. We really enjoy your Zoom. We learned a lot from this. So yeah, my question is that, so, like, I know that right now we can do a deal with like 506B first, and then we close on that, raising money with 506B and then moving forward to 506C. But my question is that, so what if, let's just say scenario that I already done raising all the money that I think that is enough, and then I close the deal and everything should be closed and good, and then we just realize that we didn't raise enough CapEx or some other thing. Is that still gonna have to be open again and then raised as 506C again? We cannot go back to 506B.
You would not be able to go back to a 506B. Once you've advertised, 506B is no longer an option for you. But if you've done the hybrid where you start off with a B, you close it and you go to a C, and then you end up needing to raise a little bit more, that's not necessarily the end of the world, depending on how much more and why, right? So we in your private placement memorandum, your PPM, we make disclosures. We let the investors know, here are all the risks that we can think of. Here's our business plan. Here's how we're spending your capital. Here's all the things about the sponsors. We make all these disclosures, right? So if things change after the fact and we didn't already disclose the risk of that, and by the way, we do typically disclose that we might have to raise a little bit more. This might cost a little bit more. You're usually covered there and you can go and raise more money. And you're great on a 506C because it's all accredited investors. Because if you had non-accredited investors and you've got any operating history, so if it's been a little bit of a delay and now you've got something to report, right? You've got an operating history, then you would actually be obligated to provide those incoming non-accredited investors with audited financials prior to them coming into the deal. But if you're in a 506C, they're all accredited. You don't necessarily have to worry. You don't have to worry about having the audited financials. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if it's something that is materially different, if there's a material change and you've already raised money and you have to disclose a material change. In that case, you have to disclose it to all the current investors and anybody incoming. And the best practice is then to allow the current investors the opportunity to get out, because the deal is now materially different than what they thought it was when they came in. So you'd have to give them the opportunity to get out of the deal. But if it's just hey, CapEx is a little bit more, we got to raise another 50,000, we cover that in your disclosures, the possibility of that. And with the 506C, there's no problem with that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Julie, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello.
Hi.
So my question is in regards to international investors, and what is the best way to bring them on board? Like, how do we bring their money over from overseas? Like, do we create a holding company for them here and then create LLCs for that property? Yeah, what's the best way to do that?
Well, the first thing is, is your property here in the US?
Yeah.
And do you have any US investors, or is it all overseas?
It can be both.
Both, okay. The first thing I would say is, you're not going to be forming any entities or giving any kind of advice on how to do tax structures or legal structures to your investors. I would advise them to check with their own tax advisors and legal advisors about what vehicle makes sense. And depending on the country is going to dictate what that looks like. From your perspective, you can accept foreign investors into your deal. You want to make sure that you are telling them to seek their own advice. You check with your own accountant, because you will likely have to withhold taxes on their distributions in favor of the IRS. Before you make a distribution, you have to withhold taxes, since the IRS can't always reach people who are foreign investors.
Yeah.
If the foreign investor, though, creates a US-based entity through which they're going to invest, that's actually a US investor then. If it's a US LLC or a limited partnership. A lot of Canadians use limited partnerships because Canada doesn't recognize LLCs and there's a taxation issue. But the biggest thing is, I wouldn't set up entities for them. I would have them check with their advisors about how to set up an entity, because the last thing you want is for them to get a tax bill and they said, well, this is what she told us to do. And then now they think you should be on the hook.
The reason I'm asking is because my money, we're getting money that belongs to our company that's outside of the US, here in the US for investment. So, but we obviously don't want it linked to our personal name here in the US. So that's why I don't know if I should ask a lawyer or CPA or a tax person. Like, I'm asking different people and I'm getting part of different answers. No one can give me a full answer. And it's very frustrating.
Okay, so you're talking about, I was giving you I represent issuers of securities. And so I was giving you the answer of, if you are a syndicator, this is your answer. And if you're the investor, legally speaking, you can set up a US based LLC. But the bigger driver there, honestly, I mean, I would always have an entity to protect your assets and to protect yourself from liability always. So the legal answer is have an LLC. The tax answer might be something different depending on the country. And the tax is going to be usually a bigger driver when it comes to real estate. And I would say have it in some limited liability protected entity, but talk to your accountant about how to structure that to make sure that you're not getting either double taxation or something like that.
Okay.
So sorry, it's only part of there's a reason it's only part of the answer though.
Yeah, it's hard to find a person that has knowledge of everything, which I know is difficult. So the legal side is some kind of entity to protect the anonymous side of it, and then talk to a CPA or an accountant to do the tax side of it.
Yeah. And we can give you a referral for amazing CPAs if you need.
Yes, please. I do need.
Okay, great. A lot of our clients use provisors. I'm not saying that too. Everybody has to use, but they use provisors. Tim Gertz does a lot of work with some of our clients, but I can give you some names offline if you want as well.
Okay, can I put my email in the chat and then you can email me?
Yes.
Does that work? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mark, I think you're back up.
All right. So I got a couple questions. So if anyone's raised their hand, I'll just stop and get back in line. So I don't want to suck it all up for anyone. I don't want to be a hog. But so I just started out literally March 3rd, 4th. I was at that in Dallas syndication. And what I started to do is I've been a physics teacher for 26 years. I want to get out of teaching. I've been always passionate in real estate, been investing for a couple of decades. But what I wanted to do is I got out of stuff around 2012. I had that, what they were talking about, that epic fail. I lost 190,000, walked out of that whole 2008-9 debacle and was like, okay, I got to revamp. So I had to get married, have kids and all that fun stuff. And now I'm getting back into it. And I only have right now, a small deal going. But the one thing I want to do is I think that when I hear syndication, the one biggest hurdle for me was experience. I don't have experience in doing this. I have done buy stuff myself. I have gone in with other partners. We kind of knew what our roles were for that. But the syndication part means that I mean, the way I look at it is I would have a team with working with me to handle all the legal issues, accounting issues and stuff like that. And I'm just trying to figure out the best way to get experience. I know right now I'm seeking out to get a partner who does this for like full time, if that makes sense. But I ask this because I have an opportunity that last night, two gentlemen that I've known for quite some time, they approached me and asked me about syndications a while ago. And I just said, I really don't know much about it and I want to learn about it. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. But they came up to me last night over dinner and said, they want to throw some money together and do something. And I'm just trying to think of the best way, because the way I look at it, syndication usually is like a bigger deal. And I'm just trying to get my feet back, wet again into the business. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like, I was looking just to do a smaller deal, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, something like that, just to say, hey, this is no longer just me. Now I'm dealing with other partners and we're getting a track record. But I don't know if that would even be worth to go into a syndication. And I'm not even asking the right questions probably of them. And so I started making a questionnaire for them. So I'm just looking for some advice for that. I think I'm going to ramble after this. So
that's fine. So you're actually in a really great place. I know that there are some folks on here that are in various different groups where they find co-sponsors or partners in JVs. I see Tim is giving advice here. Tim Burkhart's giving advice about maybe do a smaller deal with JV partners, do a value add and come up with a strategy that's the same as you would do with syndication, apart from having the passives, right? And you can treat it that way. And then you use that same, then when you grow and you have to syndicate, you could replicate that into a bigger deal. Now the biggest difference is you've got to do all the disclosures, right? To allow people come in and use passive income. But you're doing it right. I think you're finding co-sponsors that fill the gaps of the things that where you're not an expert. It used to be, back before COVID a few years ago, we used to find people doing deals where it was like one, maybe two sponsors, and they would just do deals after deals after deals. Ever since COVID, we're finding a lot larger sponsor teams now for a number of reasons. One is there are a lot of new syndicators coming onto the market because of all these wonderful education programs that exist and people are learning. Two is COVID. Deals got harder to qualify for, or you had to have bigger reserves, or it's just harder to get them done on your own. So we're seeing much larger sponsor teams now than we used to. But that's an opportunity for you because people have been looking for co-sponsors too. You're not the only one looking for co-sponsor, right? So what I would do, and
I'd like that to be the case.
What's that?
I'd like that to be the case, but
I think that's true. And there's I think you're part of our Facebook group. Go in there and ask the same question there, right? Go into the multifamily mindset, which is where Tyler and Ryan have it, and ask the question there. But one of the things, the guest we had a couple of weeks ago, Ashley Wilson from Bar Down Investments, she's just a rock star. And the best piece of advice not the best piece, but a really great piece of advice that she gave is is lead with your strengths. So instead of saying, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm brand new at this, here's what I'm an expert at. Here's what this is what I bring to the table. Join me, bring what you bring to the table. Because I mean, a lot of these people that are in here, they know what needs to get done. And they know if you handle this and they handle this, you're going to find each other. But I would lead with, this is what I bring to the table. I'm awesome at underwriting. I'm awesome at asset management. I'm awesome at, I understand construction. Please don't say I'm a capital raiser. I think everybody who's listened to me talk more than 3 minutes will recognize the fact that I don't call yourself a capital raiser. You have to bring something in addition to that to the table. But other than that, I mean, you've done a bunch of deals, you whatever it is that you're awesome at, say it right now. So everybody who's still on here can hear you say it. What are you awesome at, Mark?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm a leader. I'm super smart. For a living, I take the hard things and break them down to really simplify them. I'm amazing at presenting. I mean, it doesn't really present very well versus Zoom. I know that. In fact, I'm in my basement. It's 50 degrees down here. That's why I have my sweatshirt on. It was my son's 3rd birthday, so I didn't want to ruin upstairs. I'm a huge connector. Massive doer. Like I heard that I'm up at 4 a.m. every day. I have now a 3-year-old and almost a 5-year-old. So I need my own time before I get going for the day. So 4 a.m. is not a big deal. Like after this, I'll be going to bed. But I see abundance only for everyone. I love to network and support everybody. That's just been a massive thing for me to do. I recently moved, so I'm in New Hampshire now for the last 2 years, but and I can find money. I've never found a problem finding money if the deal is worth it. And so for me, I can control my emotions and I can complete the task. I love to be the closer for whatever I'm chasing.
Okay. So I would go in those Facebook groups, right? There's tons of value there in our Facebook group and also on Multifamily Mindset. And I think you're in a few others as well. The real estate guys and a few others. Put your email in the chat and I would say try to connect with these kinds of groups and just seek out those co-sponsors. I know that's not legal advice, but it's practical advice.
No, I agree. I hear what you're saying. So then I guess if no one else has a question, if you still want to stay on, I was building a questionnaire and I just wanted to know, what do you think in your opinion, what is the most important, if you could only ask one question on the questionnaire, what would be that one question that you'd want to really know that information about?
I would ask, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
What do you bring to the table? Unfortunately, because I'm a lawyer, I have to ask two, which the second one is, are you qualified to be part of a capital raise? You have to do the bad actor part, right? So you have to ask that part, and it is your responsibility to do diligence on all your co-sponsors. So I do have to give you the legal answer too. But I would ask, what do you bring to the table? And making sure that everybody that you're partnered with is not a bad actor.
Okay. And then is it legal to do a background check on someone?
Yeah. I mean, you got to disclose it, but absolutely you should do a background check on your co-sponsors. Absolutely.
What about, okay. So when you say, just so I know the verbiage yet, when you say co-sponsor, just make sure it's crystal clear to me. Just spell it out to me what you mean.
I mean, your fellow GPs, people say
Right.
GP.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So I was just curious, like, could I do a background check on the people who are, if I was to do a 506B, could I do a background check on the passive investors?
I think you'd have to disclose that you were doing that, but yeah, sure.
That's fine. I mean, because the rule is, to me, I feel like this business is just about really disclosure. I don't ever want to be in a lawsuit. That's not, and I kind of want to be upfront. I feel like if I was hiding something, then why am I doing this in the first place?
Right. Well, and on your passives, the thing to keep in mind too is anybody who owns more than 20% is you cannot have bad actors own any more than 20% of it anyway. So, and a lot of times your lender will want to underwrite anybody who owns more than 20% of a deal. So you're going to have to do some diligence on anybody who owns more than 20%.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Is anybody, you've got a couple of folks reaching out to you here in the chat.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to put my email in there right now as you talk.
Yeah.
So,
and Julie, you sent that message to me. Oh, never, that was for me. Okay, because she's got the question about international tax. Got it. Thanks, Julie. Anybody else have any questions? It was nice of everybody to stay on and hang out and listen till the very end. I know it's late for a lot of folks. Amy, hi.
Hi, Bethany. It's so great to see you again.
Long time no
We'll have
see.
to go out to dinner again.
I know, I would love that. It's a sushi.
So, is it better that we bring the deal over to you before we submit the LOI? Because I feel like if we have something that it doesn't stand up on its two legs, then we would need you to kind of justify why it isn't before we submit a LOI.
Well, so I'm gonna help you with the SEC compliance as you raise money. So really, most folks don't come to me until they've got an LOI, and sometimes even they're under contract. It's actually going to be the real estate transactions counsel that's going to help you get to the PSA part of it, who's going to help you make sure if the deal pencils and all of that. Well, actually, your underwriter is going to help you figure that out. So I wouldn't spend money on a securities lawyer until you're fairly confident that you're going to do a deal, but give yourself enough time to raise the money. So you don't want to wait until your diligence period's almost over and you've got to close in 2 weeks and, oh my gosh, I have to raise $5 million. But I understand what you're saying is like, I don't want to drop any money until I know I've got a deal I'm probably going to go forward with. So I would at least get an LOI signed, maybe even get a PSA in hand, the purchase and sale agreement in hand. The one thing I will tell you though, is that we do provide a partial credit. If you pay us to do a deal and the deal falls apart for whatever reason, depending on where we are in our process and how much work we've done, you'll get a partial credit for the next deal. So we don't want to take money for deals that don't end up closing. We want you to come back when you actually have a deal and you're gonna close it, because we want to make sure you're going to stay compliant. Oh, I can see that you're talking, but you're muted. There you go.
I said, awesome, thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you. It's good to see you. Very good.
Good to see you.
So Mark, your hand's still, do you have another question?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't even take it down.
No,
Sorry.
you had said before you had a few, so I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, I can go for probably another 6 hours. So I'll hit you up on the next time. I'm
okay,
all,
no problem. No problem. Yeah. It looks like I want to make sure I did. Oh, Thurman, hey, how you doing? How you doing? You can unmute.
Great. We had a question. So once we actually need your services, about how long is your turnaround time like to I guess have like all the legal documentation ready?
I'm glad you asked, because we happen to be the fastest turnaround time of any law firm I've ever even heard of, actually. So once we get engaged, we have a very specific process, which allows us to keep it pretty fast. We will send you a questionnaire that you'll fill out, and that'll give us the information we need to get your LLCs formed. Okay. And that'll give us some high level information about your deal, what your fees are, what the general structure of your deal is. We'll go through that questionnaire in detail with you. During that time, if you haven't already done your business plan or your pitch deck, your slides that tell your investors why they ought to invest, you'll be working on that. And then you will send that to us. And once I get that business plan, I'm going to schedule a strategy call with you. And I'm going to go through that business plan line by line. And I'm going to look at your underwriting, and I'm going to look at all the things that you're saying and your team and all the things that you talk about why this deal is so great. And I am going to give you some things maybe you want to soften or some footnotes. I'm going to go through that with you and make sure it's all compliant. And again, remember, I mentioned earlier, everything you say to potential investors, it's part of your offering, and that includes your business plan. From the business plan till the time you get draft PPM documents, it's going to range. 2 weeks is the slowest package that we have. The longest package is also the cheapest, right? If you're in a rush, we can do it in as little as 5 days. It just depends on when you come to us and if you want to spend a little bit more money. But even 2 weeks, I find is still fast. I don't think I've heard of other law firms that would do it.
That's pretty cool.
A lot of times under a month. So as long as you call us, like Amy said, call us when you're right at the beginning stages of the PSA, or you have an LOI, we leave you plenty of time to raise money.
Gotcha. Okay. And also, I another question while we're on that. So, because you mentioned helping us set up an LLC. So, are you like, do you, I guess, help with once we actually set this up, like set up the SEC documents and all that stuff? are you, would we be putting the money in an account that you help us create or something, or?
We don't help you set up the account, but we will form the syndication LLC for you, and then you will open up a bank account. So there'll be a syndication LLC that's usually in the state where the property is, and you'll open up a bank account, and that's going to be your operating account where your investors put the capital into that account, and then you'll either hold the LLC in that. You'll either hold the property in that LLC, or you'll create another LLC to hold the property. It's usually lender driven about how you have to structure that. But you'll set up the bank account yourself, and you'll have a manager company as well. And you'll probably want to set up a bank account for the manager, which will collect any fees that you take from the deal, asset management, acquisition, loan, whatever fees you're going to take will go into that management account. But you definitely want to keep all the LLCs should have their own separate account. You shouldn't commingle.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I had.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Great questions tonight. Oh, we have another question. Is it Marichelle? Is that right?
It is. Hi,
Hi.
Bethany.
Hi.
Nice to see you. I have a
see
quick
you.
question for you with regards to like LP and the investors. Do you offer like an opportunity to review the documents prior to it going out from you directly to the investors? Do you allow like the GPs to actually review those documents so we can familiarize ourselves should our LP investors have any like questions and things like that? Or
So if you're my client and I do the documents for you, absolutely. I want you to read them before they go final. So I'll give you a draft. I would expect the sponsor team to all go through the draft and make sure that it captures the business points and any special risks that aren't risks that we discussed or anything like that. But I would want you to look at those for sure and familiarize yourself with those before they go out. And then we'll make any tweaks that you tell us. We'll make any tweaks and then we'll put them into final. But absolutely, you should read them before they go out.
And the reason I ask that is because, if, for instance, we end up getting like a phone call at like 10 p.m. at night and it's like, hey, on page 57, what does this like paragraph mean, right? Like, well, I don't think I really have Bethany's number to call her at 10 o'clock to like help me understand. So I would love to be able to be a little bit more versed in it, right?
Well, and one of the things that we do actually is, especially for first timers, some of the veterans don't want to do this, but one thing we do offer is we'll do a PPM review call. So you'll get your drafts, you'll get a chance to go through it, and then we'll jump on a Zoom and we'll go through it. And you can ask your questions after you've read it, like, hey, this didn't seem, I don't quite understand this, or what does this mean? And then the other thing that I do, maybe not at 10 o'clock at night, is that I will get on a call with investors who have questions that you don't know how to answer. Right, about the documents. I mean, I can't necessarily tell them about your underwriting, but I can tell them about the documents and the legal aspects of it.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I think a couple people got booted out and then they're coming back on. Okay, well then I thank everybody so much for sticking around for all this time. I really appreciate all of you, and thanks for joining. In Mauricio's absence, it's always fun for me to get to come on here and do stuff like this. I love it so much. And again, if you missed those dates, I want to tell you one more time. April 28th, Ashley Wilson, Kathy Fettke, and Maureen Miles. That's going to be on a Thursday. You'll get a different link for that one. And the same link, same bat time, same bat channel, Mauricio likes to say, May 4th, Ken McElroy. You are not going to want to miss Ken McElroy and Mauricio. That is going to be a really fun one and really informative. So make sure you guys are going to want to have that one live so you can ask some questions. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.